Schlecht, we're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. Today, a special podcast. I never thought I would say any of these words on our show ever, and I'm very excited to say it. Pitcher from the World Series winning team, the Texas Rangers, native OKC resident, and a Thunder fan, Andrew Heaney, is on the show. Andrew, what's up, man?
How are you doing, Andrew?
Good. All Andrew pod
Yes,
all the
love
time
it.
here.
Love it.
Well, welcome to the show. Really
Thank
glad you're here. We're going to do some rapid fire questions to get us started so people can get to know you a little bit better.
All right.
Number one, what in the world is it like to win the World Series?
Man, it's surreal. Amazing. Obviously, that's, winning a championship is what every athlete plays for. That's what your end goal is.
Yeah.
Weird feeling, like normally the season ends, whether you lose in the playoffs or you don't make the playoffs, and it's just kind of like, well, time to go home and start the off season. You're already kind of starting to think about whatever vacation plans or what you're going to try and improve on for the next year, whatever. So This year it was like such a weird feel, like in a good way, but just such an odd feeling of like, I don't know what to do now. I'm playing for an extra month.
The pinnacle, and it's like, like now what?
Yeah. It was, and then it was just so crazy. We went in Arizona, and then we fly home, and it's like, hey, the parade's tomorrow, and you got to pack your stuff in the clubhouse and get out. It was just such a weird, it was a whirlwind. It was crazy, but amazing.
What's the parade like? I mean, you probably think about and have thought about either as a fan of a sport or as a pro, thinking about the parade, the championship parade. What was it like being part of it?
So, I mean, it started with they told us hey, show up to the stadium 3 hours before the parade was scheduled to start. Okay. And even 3 hours before, we're it's just log jam. We're just sitting in traffic. I'm calling our security guy going dude, can we get a police escort? I have no idea how to get in. We're just stuck. There's no way to get into the stadium.
Yeah.
So we already knew. We were oh my God, it's going to be crazy. We can't even get to the stadium. I had twins. My wife and I had twins in July. Yeah. So they were, I guess, 4 months at that point. So we had them with us. So the way they did the parade was we each got just kind of an individual truck, and we would just sit in the back of the truck or whatever. So my wife and I, each of us had one of the girls strapped to our chest. And so we're just sitting in the back of the truck, and I'm don't fall, don't you know what I mean? Don't do anything stupid. I'm looking at the crowd, guys are holding beers, hey, you don't want to throw us a beer. And I'm no, I got a baby. So that was crazy. I mean, so basically in Arlington, it's, it's AT&T Stadium, the new ballpark, the old Globe Life Field. And we just kind of did a big loop through there. And I don't know how long the circle was, but it was 20 people deep, the whole way around. People were on rooftops, people were on light poles, people were climbing anything and everything just to it was just nuts. And it was a perfect day. It was amazing.
That's so cool. That's amazing. Did you, you grew up in Oklahoma City. Did you grow up going to Rangers games as a kid ever?
Yeah. So I grew up, born and raised Oklahoma City. I mean, that was, if you're just going to a local game, you would go to the Oklahoma City Redhawks. But if I was gonna go to a big league game, I would go down to the old ballpark. I have a summer birthday, so a lot of birthdays, my mom would be pick a friend and we'll go down and we'll go see a game. And I think a couple times we went to Six Flags, and that was kind of we'd pick a weekend, and that was kind of my birthday party present sort of thing. So I went to quite a few. And obviously the Redhawks back then, they were the Rangers AAA affiliate.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool. You could see some big league guys rehabbing or whatever. So that was kind of who I grew up going to.
So it's probably obviously surreal to just be a Major League Baseball player, but to sign with the Rangers, was there anything particularly surreal about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like I was a huge Rangers fan, but
Sure.
like that was the big league team I grew up watching. I definitely rooted for them. Like, you know, the Yankees, they'd play the, I'm like, oh, I wanted to beat the Yankees. The Yankees were the bad guys kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so just being like everybody around here was a Rangers fan. Like I had so many people after we won. For anybody who's, you know, obviously is a basketball podcast, for anybody that doesn't know much about baseball, you know, the Rangers in 2010 and 11 were in the World Series, lost both times. They were literally one strike away from winning the World Series, and ended up losing to the Cardinals. So like it was a very deep scar for a lot of people. And so a lot of people that I knew that I grew up with, or, you know, whoever texted me like afterwards and was like, oh my God, like you've healed so many wounds. Like this is just like cathartic. Like, you know, we needed this. You know, that was the first World Series win in franchise history. Like the Rangers were one of the longest like tenured franchises to like never win a World Series. So it was a pretty big deal, and just kind of like sometimes as a player, you just sort of get stuck in your own little world of day to day, or what can I do better, whatever. And it doesn't dawn on you until you start having so many people kind of reach out being like, that was a really big deal. And so it's just now like setting in, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like spring training's like just around the corner. Like how?
Yeah. We'll leave in a couple
Florida
weeks.
or where do you guys go?
We're in Arizona.
In Arizona. Okay.
Surprise,
nice.
Arizona, which is like right outside Phoenix.
Nice. That'll be fun. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about OKC in general.
Yeah.
When you're away from Oklahoma City, like obviously you're going to miss your family, but are there things about Oklahoma City that you miss when you're away? Like you're traveling a ton, obviously.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things I've been playing pro ball for 13, this will be my 13th year.
Yeah.
Like every summer, all my friends we're at the lake, we're doing this, you know, we're doing that. And look, I'm not complaining. I have an amazing job, but it's like, I always just miss, like, I don't get to experience, you know, some people hate Oklahoma summers. That's fine. But like, I don't get to see the grass green. Like everything is yellow and dead when I come home in the off season. Like I am in Oklahoma for just the absolute miserable, cold, windy, rainy, and it's perfect time to be talking about this.
This is
0
it right
degrees
now.
outside, right? Like I don't ever really, you know, outside of maybe if we make it home for the All-Star break or the COVID year, that was, you know, the weird year. Like I haven't really had a summer at home. So I just miss like grilling outside and not like freezing, you know, like getting to swim in my own pool that like everybody else has swam in more than me, you know, things like that I'm just like, that would be really great to see the green grass and like warm sun in Oklahoma one time. That's honestly what I miss a lot of times.
Favorite restaurant in Oklahoma City?
Ooh. The Ranch is really good.
It's a good one.
Really good. You know, I actually went to Frida Southwest.
Oh, it's so good.
For the first time. Really good. Really good. My wife and I loved that. You know, sometimes I just want a Del Rancho chicken fried steak or chicken fried chicken. That really hits. That's good. So my wife and I were talking about this. We don't have to get on a tangent, but like, Ted's, right? Ted's is great. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Ted's, but like, is that just like a Oklahoma comfort? Like, would you suggest that to people coming in from out of town?
I don't think I would.
That's kind of what we were saying. Like, I wouldn't put it on my favorite. It's like a comfort spot. Like, we can pop in for lunch. You know, it's consistent. It's going to take 30 minutes. It's good. It's great. Like, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's good. But we're just, so I don't think I would put that on there, but that's definitely one that we're like, oh, we can just go pop in there.
Yeah. Favorite breakfast cereal? Do you eat breakfast cereal as a professional athlete?
I do not. I do not. I think that might be controversial. I'm not really a cereal guy.
Okay, not a cereal guy
but if I did, it'd probably be like Honey Bunches of Oats.
Okay.
Which I don't know where that ranks. I know you're the cereal expert, but
it's pretty low.
Yeah, like I think that makes me not right. Like if that's my answer for cereal, then clearly I'm not a cereal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the best episode of The Office? I heard you're a big fan of The Office.
Yes. Okay, so stress relief. For anybody that doesn't, the cold opening with, the fire alarm and the whole thing. That's just 5 minutes of just pure comedic genius.
Yes.
The whole CPR scene is amazing. If you're into sort of uncomfortable, funny, the dinner party one where they have the dinner party over at Michael and Jan's.
Classic.
Hilarious. And then I just have to get this out there. The one episode, the worst episode, Scott's Tots. The one where he promises all the kids he's going to pay for their college tuition. I can't watch it. I cannot watch it. Like, it is skin crawling, cringy. Like, I have to turn it off or skip it every time. Like, I just can't do it. So those would be my three extreme ends of the spectrum Office episodes.
That's a good call. Scott's Tots is cringeworthy. It's one that I can't look away from. Like I just
no. I can't look at it. I can't do it.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your background. Like I want people to get to know you. Like you're an Oklahoma City resident, like you're a Thunder fan. One of the more famous Thunder fans. I want people to get to know you. So, did you always want to be a baseball player? Like growing up, it's like, man, that would be like the dream to do this like for my job.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't think I made it my like whole life's mission or anything like that, but I enjoyed playing baseball as a kid. I had two older sisters. My mom wanted to just, get me out of the house.
Yeah.
I was always throwing a tennis ball up on the roof or against the garage door. Just always throwing a ball. And she's like, she's like, you got to play baseball. I got pretty good in high school, and then it's one of those things that just keeps evolving. Like, oh my gosh, I might be able to go to college, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I might get drafted. Like, no, there's no way that's happening. So it just kind of evolved, and obviously, like once it gets to that point, you're like, well, now I have to do this. I'm not going to turn this down.
Yeah. So you were drafted in 2009 from Putnam City Original, which I'm a PC North Panther. I'm like. We're bitter rivals here.
Yeah, exactly.
So was there like any thought at the time you were drafted in like the 24th round? I honestly don't really know that much about the draft when it comes to baseball. But like, was there any thought of like trying to go pro in that moment?
Yeah. So like, again, this is a basketball pod for anybody that's not super familiar with baseball. Like baseball, you don't enter the draft. Like teams can just pick you, and then you can either say yes or no. You kind of negotiate out your signing bonus and then go from there. I mean, at baseball, like there's just so many minor league levels. Like you could get drafted, and it's pretty standard for it to take a guy 3 or 4 years to get to the big leagues. Especially if you're a high school guy, it can be 4 or 5 years, as opposed to other sports where it's like you get drafted and you're just on the team, or you might, bounce back and forth. So it's a pretty long road when you're thinking about, getting drafted out of high school. So I got drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays, and my senior year of high school, I was 6'1", 145 pounds. Seriously, like not at all prepared to like play a professional sport. Like, professional, like it's going to be more grueling than college. It's got a little bit easier schedule. You're a bit more, protected, more structured, when it comes to lift and routine and all that stuff. So I think it was a pretty easy decision for me, just kind of like knowing myself and knowing that there's no way my body that I hadn't really like grown into yet was ever going to like be able to handle that. So I ended up going to Oklahoma State. Yeah.
So tell me about that process. Now we can come together. I was a Cowboy.
There you go.
At Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So how did you like come to that decision to go to Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I mean, so I wasn't like super highly recruited or anything out of high school. Basically like 8 or so Big 12 teams. So it kind of came down for me between OU and OSU. Just I wasn't going to get like a full ride. I had good grades, good GPA, all that stuff, but like couldn't quite get to the like academic threshold I needed to. So I wasn't going to be on, a full scholarship. So I was like, I'd like to stay in state, like make it a little cheaper.
Yeah.
And then I would rather have gone to OSU based on just sort of baseball reasoning.
Sure.
More historic program. I think I vibed with the coaches better, put it that way, at Oklahoma State. And just had a good feeling about it. Their head coach, Frank Anderson, who was also kind of the pitching coach. His son was a left-handed pitcher, was in the big leagues. He went to Stillwater, Brett Anderson. And so it kind of he had a better track record of kind of like helping left-handed pitchers kind of progress and get drafted and that. So it just kind of like made sense. It was a good fit.
Yeah. So you did get drafted in the first round in 2012. Drafted 9th overall by the Marlins. So what was that night like for you? Like the second time around?
Really cool. So baseball is just now trying to kind of like put together a draft show and kind of have, all the prospects and all the people they think. I say just now. In 2012, they were just then trying to do it.
Gotcha.
And so I actually got invited to go to Secaucus, New Jersey to be a part of the show at MLB Network. And at first I told them no, because a lot of times it's the high school guys that go. It's not a lot of the college guys.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, man, like, we're going to help, we'll fly your family out. We'll put you up at a hotel. Like, it'll be something you won't ever, forget. And I was like, okay, like, they're right. I'm going to sign. Like, I'm probably not coming back to college. I know that at this point. So I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. And so the draft is actually on my 21st birthday.
Okay.
So I got drafted on my 21st birthday. Had my parents there. My girlfriend at the time, who was now my wife, was with me. I had family there. It was really cool. Awkwardly tried to put on the jersey and shake the commissioner's hand, and it all went to hell in a handbasket because somebody forgot to unbutton a button. Whatever.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was awkward. Anyways, but then like get to go back to the hotel afterwards and like have a beer with my dad on my 21st birthday after getting drafted. Like it was just like couldn't have worked out in a better way. It was a really cool experience.
Man, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So you play for the Marlins, Angels, Yankees, Dodgers, and Rangers. What's been your favorite franchise to play for and why?
Every different stop for different reasons. I mean, I played all the way through the minor leagues with the Marlins. Something I think fondly of, like minor league situation in baseball can be pretty grueling. You don't get paid very much. You're shacking up with 4 or 5 other people and kind of just surviving. But it's something, it's kind of like you don't forget the grind, the whole thing. Yeah. So that I think fondly of that. I spent most of my time with the Angels. Was there for 7.5 years.
Yeah.
Had a ton of great friendships. Really established myself as a big leaguer there. Probably had my best year of my career as a Dodger, individually. Mm-hmm. Obviously an organization that's so, just iconic. Obviously the Yankees are iconic, but I was awful when I pitched for them. So don't really think fondly of that necessarily. And then obviously like the Rangers, kind of the hometown, win the World Series. So it's like probably the Rangers, but I mean, it's a close tie for a multitude of different reasons. And just, this past year was just unbelievable. Just personally, professionally, like the whole thing was just such a great year for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's talk about the Thunder. So you're a big Thunder fan.
Yeah.
So tell me, did you just become a Thunder fan because the Thunder are here in town? Like what's your Thunder fan origin story here?
I mean, I kind of think it's similar for a lot of people in Oklahoma, where it was like we didn't have a professional team in any sport, any capacity, really. obviously we had the Hornets come here. We went to a couple games of the Hornets, and kind of like really first time really getting like a up close taste of like NBA basketball. And then obviously when they come here permanently, you're like, I mean, I'm born and raised in Oklahoma City. Like, we have a professional team. Like, you have to be a fan. Like, it's the only choice. Like, you have to. And so kind of started from there. I guess that would have been right around kind of my like starting college years there. And just enjoyed watching them. And obviously, like, everybody's just, as a Thunder fan, is just so lucky to just have a team come in and just be like that good, that exciting, that like just enjoyable to cheer and root for. And then they've really kind of continued that. Like, I think as an athlete, just, I don't know intimately how their organizations run, but you get an idea, a sense of it. It just seems like such a well-run, like player first type place. And I think, as a fan, like, you get to reap the benefits of that, because it just feels like the players genuinely play harder and know how lucky they are to be part of this organization. And so it's just really cool to feel like there's sort of this whole reciprocating feeling of like everybody's like happy to be where they are, like Oklahoma City is, hopefully people, understand how lucky we are to have an NBA team. That's something that people shouldn't and don't take for granted, I guess, with the vote that the new stadium. It seems like people really understood that.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So
yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, I try to emphasize it to people that didn't grow up here, maybe Thunder fans like around the world, or even, I talk to a lot of people around the league. It's like, man, I even tell my kids, because like my kids get to go to a lot of games, and like I have 3 boys that are all like Thunder fans. I'm like, guys, you don't know like how cool this is that you get to go to like NBA games. Like a random Tuesday. You can go to an NBA game. I remember just like going up to my uncle who like he went to a Spurs game once, and I was like, just tell me what it was like. I just want to know what it's like to be like in the arena for a game, because I grew up just watching ball. I was a big Shaq fan, and so like I would watch games all the time. And so it's crazy that like there's a team here in OKC.
We used to be going to Blazers games. Now we're going to like NBA Thunder game. No offense to the Blazers, but like this is the real deal. So
hey, offense to the Blazers. Do the Blazers even exist anymore?
What's that?
Do they exist anymore? The Blazers?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Changed names completely. Yeah.
This was a minor league hockey team. Yeah, that was like the big ticket. Or like there was the Cavaliers. That was a minor league team.
The Yard Dogs, if you're really into arena football.
Hey, in arena football, we got the Yard Dogs, which is like the most Oklahoma City name ever for an arena football team.
No doubt.
That was amazing. Okay, tell me your favorite role player from like past years with the Thunder. So like one of mine is Dion Waiters. I love Dion Waiters. I loved his attitude. He was just like off the wall. He was either doing something amazing or something I cannot believe he's doing that.
Waiters Island, baby. Let's go.
Waiters, that's right. I love every second of it. Do you have a favorite role player from Thunder teams past?
I do love Dion Waiters. I do love his quote that like, I'm going to butcher the exact quote, but basically like, you're not, if you go 0 for 10, you're not like confident. You got to go 0 for 20. What's the exact quote that he says?
Because it is unbelievable. Yeah. I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9, because you go 0 for 9, that means you stopped shooting. That means you lost confidence.
Yeah.
The ultimate.
And he played like that. He lived up to that completely. So I love that. I respect that about him. Man, I mean, role players, like just guys that I watch that I just love, the early iterations of the Thunder, like Ibaka. I mean, he's not really a role player, I guess. I mean, he was part of the core, but, Collison he's got his jersey and, in the rafters, like he's the ultimate guy.
Oh, yeah.
One that's kind of funny that he was only here for a year, but like I was all on board with the Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah.
I loved. Have you ever heard like his song, his anthem? Have you ever heard the anthem?
Yes, I have.
I would go like shoot around and just like play the song, just like as a joke. We'd be like playing the song loud as hell with the saxophones and everything going on, just shooting around. And he was another guy that was just kind of like fun to just, he would jack them up and kind of played like a unique style.
Yeah, that particular team was really fun. Am I seeing right? Like the jerseys behind you are from that team?
Yeah. So I have a few of them. There's a couple in the other room, but yeah, I got Chris Paul, Steven Adams. I have a Danilo Gallinari one in the room. I have like an early Shea, J-Dub.
Cool.
Obviously, like all the guys on this year's team, you know, the Kenrich and the Wiggins and the, you know, you can name all those guys and be like, they're awesome, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Man, Andre Robertson, I think, is a guy that I know he had his flaws as a player, but was just seemed, I think, more from the emotional side of things. Like I pull for him just, you know, for the injury history that he has and, you know, kind of the way, I know it's not completely over for him, but just kind of the way that ended was tough. So kind of a guy looking back, you're like, man, maybe I should have appreciated him more in the moment because he did play a pretty pivotal role.
Totally.
So those are kind of just off the top of my head. Again, like Adams, not really a role player, but just, you know, an amazing dude, amazing guy to watch, fun to watch. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I hope one day he'll come back and be like the backup center on this.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yes.
Let's talk about this current team. They are shockingly good. I mean, they go in, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road in a game that just, it felt like it was out of hand. And they come back. The word that Mark always uses after games like that is resilient. I mean, they are a very resilient team.
Yeah.
What were your kind of expectations for this team? And then like just describe, you know, what you thought about the team so far this season.
So I was, you know, I listened to you guys' show, listened to the Fry Pod and all the other ones. I was kind of on Team J. Like I really thought that they were going to be a 50-win team. I just kind of was. It's easy to say now, right? They're on pace for like whatever 6 wins, but I just kind of felt like they just have like they don't have those. You know, you guys talk about like the non-Shea moments, you know, on the court, but it's like. Even when they just go with like a near full bench, you just don't ever feel like, oh my God, we just have to survive these minutes. Like, and in the NBA, like when you have guys that you know you can put them in, you're gonna get 100% effort. They're gonna be diving for loose balls, doing all the little things. Like you have that on your entire roster. Like it's not like. All these teams talk about like, oh, that's our glue guy, our heart and soul guy, our hustle guy. It's like, who would you pick on this team to say like, who's the glue guy, the heart guy, the hustle guy? Like, there's like 7 of them.
A bunch
and I think like as fans, like as a fan of the team and just a fan of good basketball, like you have to really enjoy that because you don't get that like night in, night out, the effort, consistency, like the just pure emotion and enjoyment of watching them is something that a lot of fans don't get to experience. Like, yeah, they're going to have off nights. That's fine. But like, it's not going to be for a lack of want to or will. And I think that's just, as a fan, that's all you can. I mean, that's why everybody loved Russ, right? Like, he's a maniac and you never know what you're going to get as far as results, but you know what you're going to get as far as effort. And that's what I enjoy watching. That's what I enjoy about this team. It's just a great brand of basketball.
Yeah. They're coached really well.
Yes.
And everybody's exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, like Shea is somehow better. I mean, I remember watching him last year. I'm like, I don't know if I can get much better than this.
Yeah.
He's a better player this year. It's like, no doubt. Obviously, J-Dub is a lot better. I mean, the guy, I'm afraid to even say it out loud that he's shooting 45.8% from 3 this season. I mean, it just is absurd.
And then, like, I feel like as a Thunder fan, like you talk to other people and you're always kind of like, I don't want to sound like a homer or I don't want to, it's like you could legitimately be like, hey, he should be an all-star. Like if you just look at his numbers and everything, like he should be an all-star. But it's like you sound like such a homer because people don't even know which Jalen Williams he is, and you're like, oh, he should be an all-star, right? Like I was watching the Clippers game the other day, and of course they put the banner under him while he's shooting free throws with the wrong Jalen Williams stats, and I'm just like, it's just so frustrating. You're like, this guy should be an all-star, and we can't even get, we had the whole debacle down in, was it in Miami or Atlanta, where they're sitting around for 15 minutes trying to figure out who the personal foul was on.
Right. Exactly.
And you're just like, this is why we wear jerseys. This is why we have jersey numbers. How are we screwing this up? Like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like, what is going on? So, like, you're like constantly teetering on this, like, Napoleon complex of like, oh, we're the little team that nobody believes in, but you're also like trying to be like, no, we're good. Like, we are an NBA team. I say we, I'm not on the team, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just, I don't know. I'm rambling, but I love watching him play. He's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely like homer moments where you're like, okay, you start thinking about awards. And I've had this conversation with a few different people. It's like, well, I think Embiid is the MVP, but like there's a good chance that Embiid's going to miss enough games where I believe firmly that Shea's been the second best player in the league this season. And I have to like check myself. Like I'm like, okay, I need to go watch like 5 other teams play that have like really good players before I can feel like I can say that out loud. Yeah. And then I do, and I come back like, yeah, it's Shea. Like Shea's the second best player. I think Embiid's been ridiculous.
It doesn't help he scored 70 last night.
God, that was so crazy.
So I had a question about this. So say he's 1 game short and he's, they're locked into a playoff spot. Like obviously he's going to play. Let's say he rolled an ankle. What happens if he just goes out there, they tip it, he takes a foul and comes off the court? Like that's a game played. Obviously it's going to drag his averages down and everything, but like, are there stipulations like within this 75 or 65 game rule?
I do believe there are stipulations. I can't remember what they are, but I remember when they came up with the rule that there are some stipulations.
Gotcha.
On it. I'd have to go back and look.
I was talking about that with a buddy of mine, and we were kind of saying like, they're gonna find a way to roll him out there. And I mean, the good thing for the Sixers, or for us as Shea and Thunder fans, is the Sixers he already won an MVP. Like they're trying to like, get past the first or second round.
Yeah.
And kind of exceed the expectations they've had. So I don't think they're going to take any chances or run any gimmicks or do anything like that just to get a personal award for him. I mean, I could be wrong on that. You never know. I mean, an MVP is extremely valuable for the team too, right? Like as a player, it's obviously an amazing accomplishment, but it's a big deal for the franchise.
Yeah.
To have an MVP. So I don't think they'll take that lightly, but I'll just be interested to see like when it comes down to it, like I don't think they'll take chances like playing in big minutes, or if they're locked into a seed and they don't really need to win a game, like what do they do? Do you just play them 10 minutes and then pull them off? Do you just have them take a tip and then
I think this is right, and people in the chat are saying it, that it's 15 minutes. You have to
15?
play. Okay. You have to play at least 15 minutes, which is.
I mean, that's not nothing. You can't. It's hard to limp up and down the court for 15 minutes. I don't think they're going to do that. So. Okay. Yeah. Well, we were talking about that the other day. I was like, I know they can do that for like player incentives and things like that. I didn't know how that worked for, for the awards.
Yeah, and I mean it's a good question because I do think it will come. I think it will come down to that because Embiid's already missed a good chunk of games.
Yeah.
And he always misses another chunk, down the stretch. And, I mean, it's going to come down to, and to have 3 different, and I mean, it'd be amazing just to have 3 MVPs in the course of 15 years of your franchise, but to have 3 from 3 different guys is insane.
In 3 like different timelines too.
Yes.
Like that's the crazy part. It's not, I mean, obviously like Russ and KD played together for however many years they played together, but like it was totally different like iterations of the team. That's what's crazy too. Like they had kind of like switched. I don't know. I think that's like an amazing thing too. Like really changing the kind of the team outlook, the expectations, the style of play. So yeah, we're so lucky to be able to watch this team night in and night out.
Yeah, without a doubt. And a lot of it is just how they run the team, and they
Yeah.
plan for this next era. Because I mean, you look at other teams. I mean, you look at Charlotte. That's one that I pick on all the time. But man, it has got to be just so rough being a Hornets fan. Like, it's just got to be tough to like get yourself going to think about, okay, what does the future look like? And it's like, well, maybe we can make the play in a couple of
Yeah.
years,
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've been at it for so long, just like trying to get their team good. But I mean, Presti's proving like there's a strategy that, and you need luck and you need everything that goes into it. Like, the Thunder have had a lot of luck,
Yeah.
on their side, but a lot of it is like strategic planning that, I mean, they
Sure.
are meticulous about the way that they do every single thing. Everything is like very thoughtful.
Yeah, I mean, it's holistic. I mean, I think a lot of people just think, oh, like you just go sign a player, you just trade for this player, and all of a sudden, like things are gonna click. Like, sometimes it works, right? Like if you have the infrastructure, it can work. If you have the team and you just need that one guy, yeah, it can work. But people have to like want to play hard. People have to want to be where they are. People have to, players have to be bought in. You have to have the right system, a coach that people respect and listen to. There's just so much to it that, like, behind the scenes, like, I mean, we all know in the NBA, like, player gets disgruntled, they can be out of there. They can force their way out quick. And you don't see that in Oklahoma City. And I think outside people would be like, why would anybody want to go play in Oklahoma? Like, what's there to do? But I think players get drafted and I think are genuinely excited to come to this organization. And that's says a lot, and B, you're going to get a lot more out of players because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I know Chet like wanted to be drafted here. Like, he was excited to be a part of the organization.
I mean, you have the whole Wimby like smiling and fist pumping because he didn't go to Houston, or the Houston pick came off the board, when they were doing the lotto balls.
Yeah.
It's like, that can't feel good if you're a Houston fan or a owner or the front office. Like, you've got to be like, we have a generational talent that, had he gotten to us, clearly didn't want to be here, kind of thing. That's just never going to be a recipe for success or, like, sustainable, success.
Yeah. It is that would be totally brutal. Let's continue talking about homerism, because we talked about Shea MVP, which I think is on the table. We've got like two more. Like, there's a chance the Thunder have like these three big awards that are handed to them at the end of the season, with Chet as the Rookie of the Year and then Mark as the Coach of the Year. But let's talk about Rookie of the Year real quick. Just thoughts about Chet, maybe your expectations, or whatever you thought about him, and then what he's been to the team so far.
I mean, obviously, just the way he fits with the team. You said earlier, you had said, like, how could Shea have been any better this year, right? Like, I think there's always that fear almost of like, there's no way this is repeatable. Was this just a moment in the sun kind of season? And it's like, no, I think he's better this year because he's a great player, but I think Chet frees him up to do that.
Yeah.
The one thing I've been really like surprised about, and almost like, I'm surprised that Chet's been playing as much as he has, like missing an entire year with an injury, and then just playing every game. Like, he's
played over 1,200 minutes already.
Yeah, that's been really interesting and like refreshing, right? Like, that I don't know if that's an organizational philosophy. I don't know if that's him just pounding his fist on the table saying, I'll tell you when I need a day, kind of thing. I don't know what it is, but that's just been really unbelievable, because there's times that you're just like, man, like, he kind of looks tired. Like, nobody would blame him if he was tired. Like, you went from college to an entire year off playing basketball to now, like, playing at a Rookie of the Year caliber play for a really good team, playing significant roles, significant minutes, and just like getting it's every game he's like getting an elbow to the face, or like getting, like slamming his head on the court. I was at a game that he like hit his head on the court, and I was like, oh my God. And then like, it's amazing that he's just played as much and been so like good. I mean, like just, you don't see that. And people will make the whole like, well, he's not a rookie, he's a sophomore. He didn't play a single minute in the NBA. I don't care how much NBA. I watch a lot of NBA basketball. I can't go out there and do what he did. Like, just because he was watching doesn't all of a sudden make him like, infallible in making rookie mistakes.
Right.
And for everybody that wants to like ding Chet for that, like Wemby was literally playing professional basketball in France. Like, let's not act like he, was in college or, whatever. Like, yeah, he's young, obviously, but he was playing professionally in game, having offenses tailored to his skill set. So, he was also, had a leg up on most other normal rookies that just come straight from college. So it's going to be amazing to see kind of how that race goes. I'm a little skeptical just from the national narrative of the hype around Wemby and just Chet's done some unbelievable things, throwing oops to himself off the backboard, like blocking, some amazing blocks, all the things. But basically every game Wemby does something that you're kind of like, did that happen? Why did that look so weird? Was that normal, or is he a freak? Like, what's going, like, I think he has the national kind of hype and media behind him, and sort of the highlight package kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like,
without a doubt.
So I kind of worry about that. And maybe there gets to be some Oklahoma City fatigue if you got like Shea as MVP, Chet Rookie of the Year, Dagnall as the Coach of the Year. Like, maybe somewhere somebody's like, are we just giving him too much credit? Are we really are we propping him up too much? Like, I wonder if that's what makes the clean sweep hard, not because those guys don't all deserve it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call. The thing that we got to keep saying, and we got to say it really loud, is that Wembanyama is the worst high volume 3-point shooter in the league.
Can't shoot threes. There you go.
Can't shoot threes.
You gotta bang that drum.
Yep. He's just, he's just not ready yet. And that's okay. Yeah. He's not ready to take the award. It's okay. It's not his 100%. Fault. Yeah. Give him some time. Give him some time. Mark Dagnall. Yeah. You've been coached all your life. And maybe you don't know Mark very well, but I'm sure that you've at least heard a lot of his pressers and heard him talk and everything. What sticks out to you about Mark in particular?
Yeah, I don't know him, and I don't want to pretend to know what's happening behind the scenes or anything like that. But as a player, you want to play for a coach, a manager who obviously puts in the same amount of work, has the same amount of drive, effort, want to win as you do. You hear, you watch a game a lot of times, and for whatever reason, Jason Kidd comes to mind, where it's like he'll just go get teed up, kind of like on a random play where you're like, okay, that wasn't egregious. I don't know why you got a technical. And then the play-by-play guy, oh, he's just trying to fire his guys up, whatever. It's like, well, no, that. I know what you're saying, but it's like it's a pattern. I don't want my coach to just get random technicals to fire me up. I need him this is no shade at Jason Kidd, but
sure.
I need a guy that I know is going to be, I'm showing up at 6 a.m. He's already there. You know what I mean? You want to feel like they're in the foxhole with you. And it just seems like he has that respect from his players. I think being a guy that came through the G League, D League, whatever, wherever he started with, coming through the college ranks, I think that's, players respect the heck out of that too. Just knowing that he wasn't just, his dad was a coach, so now he's the coach, or anything like that. I think he's completely earned it, and obviously advanced, because you don't advance if your players don't want to play for you.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, I just think he's, from what I see, and I'm not a fraction of the basketball mind, obviously, that he is, but it just seems like just so many more like creative ways to get guys open, creative ways to, and it helps with the players for sure.
Yeah.
But it just seems like he's on top of it. He kind of has a little edge to him. Like if
Hmm.
he's not afraid to pull guys out, he's not afraid to kind of send little messages here and there. I like that. I think the players respect that. I think that's just like you want that in your coach. You want that hard nosed mentality. You want
Yeah.
the, just players have to earn their playing time, right? Like you have to work extremely hard for that. Like you want to feel like it's either being rewarded or being, you know, punished a little bit because of the way you're playing. Like you want to feel that coach is invested. So I'm just and then like he's just so young. It's so crazy. Like
Hmm.
he doesn't feel that young. So like I know he's an old spirit, an old soul, but like I'm
Yeah.
sure to some extent, like even just being that young, like I think players are probably it's a little bit easier to like relate to him,
Hmm.
and him to them, even as an old soul. I
Yeah.
think that's got to be, he's growing with the team in the same way.
Yep. I think that's totally right. I was talking to a former player the other day, and he was just like, "Man, if I was coached by a guy like Mark, my career would have been completely different." You
Yeah.
know? And that like kind of struck me a little bit when he said that because like you look at some of the role players on this team, like I think of Kenrich Williams as like one of those guys, or even like Aaron Wiggins. Like there's a chance like neither one of those guys like really makes it if like they don't land on this Thunder team.
Yeah.
Kenrich
Yeah.
was like on the fringes. He was a throw in into the
Yeah.
trade that people thought like, okay, he'll just be waived and they'll bring in somebody else. And now he's like making a lot of money and is found a home for an NBA team. I mean, it's pretty cool to see. And like Mark he's putting these guys in position to where they can be the best version of themselves. And it doesn't happen with everybody. Like
Yeah.
it can't happen with
Yeah.
everybody. But the guys that it is working for, you're just like, wow. Like Mark is helping like make these guys career in some ways.
Yeah. No, and having a coach who's also like aligned with your organization,
Oh
but
yeah.
but just again from the outside looking in, like probably has, yes, he came through the organization, like they handpicked him in some ways, but like he
Mhm.
doesn't seem like a guy that's just gonna like roll over, right? And like
Yeah.
and say like, oh, this guy has to play so many minutes, and like we don't want to play this guy. We want to, coming from a player side, like, hey, let's avoid hitting this guy's games played incentives, right? Like I
Yeah.
understand those things happen, but like you can lose a lot of respect really quick if you feel like as a player, like, man, this dude's just getting minutes because this front office drafted him and they want to play him, right? As opposed to like this guy's getting minutes because he's freaking good, like, and he helps us win games, like. So I think it seems like he's got some power to sort of be like, no, we're gonna play this guy because he's really good and I like what he can do.
Mhm.
And so I think that's got to be nice for players as well.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Who's your favorite player to watch, and then who's your favorite role player on the team?
I mean, I think I think for a lot of Thunder fans, it's been really refreshing to watch Isaiah Joe, just
Yeah,
because like it still like hurts my brain to think about the fact that like this team is like the best shooting team in the league, because
yeah,
for so long it was like, we were like Anthony Morrow, heck yeah, like let's go, like we got a shooter, like, and no shade
yeah,
at Anthony Morrow, like good
yeah,
shooter, good
yeah,
NBA
yeah,
player, but like thinking about that like now to, like just seeing, Isaiah Joe, like just for so long do something that like every fan was just like, can we get somebody that can put the ball in the hoop from like further away than like 6 feet? Like that would be really nice. Like that would be amazing.
yeah,
So that's been like really enjoyable, refreshing, and just, for a guy that gets like, I don't know, waived or exactly how he, what the official wording is for how he got here. It's just been really like, it's got to be a good feeling for him. Like an Arkansas guy is closer to home.
oh yeah,
I
totally.
mean, Lou Dort is just the ultimate, like, I don't know, like just unsung hero in every game. Like he just,
Yeah.
I know, like, you can talk about like, why the hell are we fouling Anthony Edwards on a up three? Just stand there and watch him. If he makes it, he makes it. If he doesn't, fine. Like we're good. Like just don't foul him. Don't give him 3 free throws. Like, I mean, obviously he knew what he was doing, but
Hey, listen, if he didn't do that, we wouldn't have gotten to watch Anthony Edwards choke live on TV.
Yeah, he missed the miss. Like that's hard to do. He missed the miss.
He did miss the miss.
Yeah, but that's what like you kind of love about him, right? Is that it's just like doesn't matter. It's reckless abandon the entire game, and 75% of the time it works out. The other 25% it's maddening, right? But like you got to respect it. You got to love it. I think the team, in my opinion, like the team feeds off of that energy. Like I think he does kind of bring that like intensity to games, even in sort of the mundane games or the blowout games. Like he's still playing hard. And then I just think it's so fun to watch like a good individual one-on-one defender like taking on these like elite players and holding his own. And a guy, it's not like, I understand Lou Dort's physical, but like physically gifted in like the way that some of these other guys are. Like he's not, but he still is just kind of like always playing like above his skis, you know what I mean? Like he's always sort of like, it seems like every game he's an underdog for one reason or another and still comes out on top a lot of times. And that's just like, again, as a fan, that's just super enjoyable to watch.
It almost like plays into like the whole story of it that he went undrafted because like, he wasn't supposed to go undrafted. And even like leading up to the draft, he was a first round prospect.
Yeah.
And the fact that he goes undrafted is almost like the ultimate like Lou Dort story,
Yeah. So I would put those guys up there just for their different reasons. And just because I didn't want to say like Shea, because Shea is just,
he's unbelievable.
Just so enjoyable to watch because he takes a shot, like a clean shot, and you're like 2 points. You know what I mean? Like it just feels so good to just know that something's automatic. Like he's unbelievable, obviously for a multitude of reasons. Yeah. And is extremely good defender and has been like so good on that end of the ball. Like, I think you talk about like, the MVP stuff. Like, I hope that gets brought up more. I know Embiid's an extremely good defender too. All the numbers really favor him. And obviously, like offensively, he's, a freak. But I think that hopefully Shea will kind of get his credit for, all the work that he's been doing on the defensive side too.
Yeah, without a doubt. Andrew Heaney, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You'll be at some games. You'll be at some games in the next like couple weeks, maybe.
Probably not. Probably not. We have like half season tickets, but they sort of end like in end of January. It's kind of weird. The Thunder have been really cool, like kind of working with me to do like the block when I'm like home, So I do like the first half of this home games. I might try and pop in for like one more game, but it's been got a lot going on, so I might have to just be watching from home. But
I know obviously you have your job, you're a professional baseball player, but if the Thunder are in the playoffs again, are you going to find a way to make it to a playoff game?
I would love to say yes, but it would have to be the stars aligning. I think just baseball, we just play every day. Like we just play every night. Like if there happens to be a Sunday night game in Dallas in the playoffs, absolutely, I will be there. But beyond that, if we're not on the road in some city, I don't know. Like it's just probably not going to happen. But I would love to. I'd love to do that.
Question from the chat. This is a good question. Everyone Needs a Smile says, how did you find Down to Dunk? That's a great question. I don't even know the answer to this question.
I don't know if I know the answer to this question, honestly. I don't know like that. Dang, I feel bad. I should have some great story about how
There's not need to be a great story.
No, I ended up, so I started getting season tickets. My wife and I did probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so probably that's where I just really was like, I'd always watched the Thunder and paid attention and, you know, been in on, you know, all the stuff, but kind of, I think it was more, I just started listening to podcasts. I think before I was just more like, would listen to the radio or would listen to music on my phone, but now I like drive and listen to podcasts. So that probably helped.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually have a funny story for you. So
let's hear it.
I was listening to the pod one day and you were talking about the time you went to the game. I think we were with your kids and you got picked to do the camera thing.
Yes.
Where you had to like find Rumble in the stands.
Yeah.
So I hadn't listened to the podcast yet.
Uh-huh.
But my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, used to work for the Thunder and like her job was like on-court entertainment stuff.
Okay.
And her job is to like pick the people who do the half-court shot, do the like in-game promos.
Yeah.
So she like was talking to my wife and telling her about, you know, I ended up like accidentally like picking like a reporter. Like she didn't know. Like she was like, I picked a reporter and I kind of like got in trouble because people like recognized him. Not like in trouble, but you know, like recognized him.
Yeah.
And so we were just laughing, thought it was funny. And then you ended up telling the story.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, that was my sister-in-law. And
that's
like,
funny.
So you were, so it was kind of funny to hear like your side of it where you're like, she was like so nervous and was like trying to, because the way those things work, like they just like scramble like last second to just like find people.
Yeah.
And so she was just like, I just had to find something. Like the timeout like promo was like set to happen in like 20 minutes. So I had to like, you know, whatever. So anyways, I thought it was kind of funny. I was like on the other end of that, like hearing the story. So
that's amazing. Yeah, that night. So I think part of the reason I got chosen because I wear glasses normally. I don't wear them on do podcasts, but I wear glasses and like the promo was for like the Dean A. McGee Eye Institute or whatever. And so I think like I was just some normal looking guy wearing glasses. They were like, that guy. I told them, I said, listen, like I cover the team. And as long as you're okay with it, I would love to do it.
Yeah.
Because
she was probably like, no offense to you, but she was probably like, yeah, we just need a warm body. We
she was like, somebody. Yeah, sure, buddy. Like you have a podcast. Okay. You know, that was really funny. And I almost, dude, I would have lost that contest. I won it at the very last second because the cameraman behind me, I think I told this on the show before, but he was behind me saying like, go to the left. No, go up. No, back down. Like, tell me where to go. I was like in complete panic mode. Like I don't even know how to work the camera. I'm like, how do I do this? Anyways,
it was rigged. That's what you're saying. It was rigged.
It was absolutely rigged. Yeah, it really was.
It was genuine. You got it. Yeah, they need people to win. They need the excitement.
Yeah. And I did. I made it. It was a buzzer beater. It was my first buzzer beating win in the Paycom.
That's awesome.
Andrew, thanks so much for coming on the show. Hey, go. I guess what I should tell people is watch the Rangers this year. Yes.
There you go. Yeah, I'm back. I got one more year, so be there and trying to defend our title. So.
That's awesome. What a fun thing to be able to say. That's
pretty cool.
Thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.